Every great mind is born into a world that shapes it. Albert Einstein had the industrial age, Isaac Newton had the scientific revolution, Leonardo da Vinci had the Renaissance, but centuries before any of them, another extraordinary mind was preparing to enter history. Not in Europe. Not in China. Not in India, but in the Muslim world. To understand Ibn Khaldun, we must first travel back to the beginning of the 14th century. A time unlike any other. A century standing at the crossroads of glory and collapse. For nearly 700 years Islamic civilization had been one of humanity's greatest centers of knowledge, from the Atlantic coast of North Africa to the distant lands of Central Asia. Cities flourished with learning. The call to prayer echoed across continents. Caravans crossed deserts carrying far more than spices and silk. They carried ideas, books, scientific discoveries, poetry, law, medicine, astronomy, mathematics, and philosophy. Knowledge traveled faster than armies. Imagine arriving in Cairo. You would find scholars discussing Quranic exegesis beside mathematicians calculating planetary movements. Walk through Damascus and students surrounded respected teachers inside grand mosques. Travel farther west to Fez and libraries overflowed with handwritten manuscripts copied with astonishing precision. Cross the sea to Granada, the last great Muslim kingdom in Spain, where magnificent palaces stood beside schools, hospitals, markets, and observatories. This was not merely a civilization of warriors. It was a civilization of ideas. For Muslims, the pursuit of knowledge was never separated from faith. The very first revelation to Prophet Muhammad began with one command: read. Not fight. Not conquer. Not rule. But read. That single command transformed a people. Within generations Muslim scholars were translating the works of the Greeks, studying the wisdom of Persia, learning from India while contributing discoveries of their own. They refined algebra, advanced medicine, improved astronomy, developed sophisticated systems of trade, preserved ancient knowledge that might otherwise have disappeared forever. The Islamic world had become a bridge connecting civilizations. Yet history teaches us a painful truth. No civilization remains at its peak forever. Even the mightiest empires can begin to crack from within, and by the early 1300s, those cracks were becoming impossible to ignore. Politically, the Muslim world was no longer united. The great Abbasid Caliphate had lost the authority it once possessed. Instead, regional dynasties ruled different lands. In North Africa, the Hafsids ruled Tunis. The Marinids governed Morocco. The Zayyanids controlled parts of Algeria. Across Egypt and Syria, the Mamluks had risen to power. Farther east, the descendants of the Mongol Empire ruled vast territories. Each dynasty sought influence. Each defended its own interests. Sometimes they traded peacefully. Often they fought. Borders shifted constantly. Alliances changed overnight. Today's ally could become tomorrow's enemy. The stability that had once united much of the Muslim world had given way to political rivalry. Courts became places of ambition. Sultans feared betrayal. Governors plotted against rulers. Ministers whispered in palace corridors. Power was fragile, and everyone knew it. But political division was only part of the story. Decades earlier, the Islamic world had experienced one of its greatest tragedies. In the year 1258, the Mongol armies reached Baghdad. For 5 centuries, Baghdad had been among the world's greatest cities. Its famous House of Wisdom attracted scholars from every corner of the known world. Astronomers observed the heavens. Physicians studied disease. Mathematicians solved complex problems. Historians preserved the memory of nations. Then the city fell. The invasion devastated Baghdad, ending the Abbasid Caliphate's political rule there and destroying an immense center of learning. The loss was profound, yet knowledge itself did not disappear. Scholars fled to other cities. Books that survived were copied again. Learning found new homes in Cairo, Damascus, Fez, and Tunis. Civilizations can lose capitals. But as long as people continue to seek knowledge, their intellectual legacy survives. Still, the world had become uncertain. Trade routes remained busy, but danger lurked along many roads. Merchants feared bandits. Travelers feared war. Governments struggled to maintain order. Some kingdoms prospered. Others collapsed almost overnight. People began asking difficult questions. Why do great nations decline? Why do rulers become corrupt? Why does wealth sometimes weaken a society instead of strengthening it? Why do some civilizations endure for centuries while others vanish within a generation? Most historians simply recorded events. Kings fought. Cities fell. Another ruler took the throne. The story moved on. Few stopped to ask, why? Then, as if political instability were not enough, humanity faced another catastrophe. One that respected neither kings nor peasants. Neither scholars nor soldiers. Neither Muslims nor Christians. Neither East nor West. The Black Death carried along trade routes. The plague spread across continents with terrifying speed. Markets became silent. Schools closed. Families disappeared. Mosques filled with funeral prayers. Entire villages were abandoned. Modern historians estimate that tens of millions of people died across Eurasia and North Africa, making it one of the deadliest pandemics ever recorded. For many, it felt as though the world itself was unraveling. People asked questions they had never asked before. Was this a punishment? A test? A sign of the end? No one possessed all the answers. Yet amidst the suffering, one remarkable thing endured. The search for knowledge. Teachers still gathered students. Judges still debated questions of law. Scholars continued copying manuscripts by candlelight. Parents still taught their children the Quran. Civilizations may weaken. Empires may collapse. Pandemics may sweep across continents. But the human desire to understand cannot easily be extinguished. Perhaps that is why history often produces its greatest thinkers not during times of peace, but during times of crisis, because when the old answers no longer explain the world, someone must discover new ones, and it was into this world, a world of magnificent scholarship, political intrigue, economic uncertainty, and unprecedented tragedy, that a child would soon be born in the city of Tunis, a boy who would spend his life searching for the hidden patterns behind history itself. He would not merely ask who ruled or who conquered. He would ask the question that would change everything. Why do civilizations rise and why do they inevitably fall? His name was Abdurrahman Ibn Khaldun. And the story of one of history's greatest forgotten minds is about to begin.